You know, Owen, you're such Alexi.
I'm a what now?
Alexi, from Euphoria, duh.
Yeah, very obvious.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Real Deal, Ball State's premier entertainment news show. I'm your host, Rue.
And I'm Owen DeWeese.
Lexi Howard. He's Lexi Howard.
That's news to me.
Well, think about it. You're both empaths, and you're both cancers, and you both have annoying older sisters. And
I don't have an older sister.
Yes, you do. You have Kat.
Kat is nothing like Cassie.
You're right. Kat's... Wait, how do you know who Cassie is if you don't watch the show?
You must have mentioned her.
I really didn't.
Oh, okay, then it was the podcast.
Sure.
Anyways, on to our first segment.
I'm Stephen J. Mason. The J stands for Jeff Altes. When was the last time you watched a movie that ignited your soul? Many movies that come out in the past decade have thrown themselves up on the silver screen only to be tolerable at best for 90 minutes straight. Every story beat and character decision is practically designed by a committee to be bland, detached, and worst of all, safe. With this in mind, let's talk about 300. It's a simple story. The Persian Empire is marching into Greece, and 300 Spartan soldiers led by King Leonidas march to meet them. Then the two armies fight, and it's awe-inspiring. Every scene in 300 is drenched in phenomenal lighting, bold colors, and intense performances by literally every member of the cast. Each battle is lovingly given enough slow motion to allow the audience to soak up every detail of a given moment. The band of Spartans are staggeringly outmatched by the Persian army, but they stand against the horde, unflinchingly ready to fight to their last breath in a battle they know from the start will kill them. 300 is not a very realistic display of historical events. The Spartans don't wear much armor. They fight against fantastical monsters at times. And the enemy leader is an 8-foot-tall god king of a man. These are men who move and fight with bodies that are jam-packed with muscles from head to toe in a way that would make ancient Greek sculptors weep at the very sight of their abs. The fact that this is not a realistic movie doesn't make it a bad movie. In fact, it makes it an amazing movie. Director Zack Snyder could have given us a safe historical recounting of true events, but that would have been boring. I don't watch movies for an accurate story. I watch movies to feel something, be it hype, hope, or horror. Consider the alternative of a movie that followed godlike beings who are just as realistically average as you or me. Right now. Can I do that from the top? I fucked up. I'm actually me, and you're actually you. So, yeah. Consider the alternative of a movie that followed godlike beings who were just as realistically average as you or me right now. They'd probably make a bunch of jokes that make you chuckle for a second or two. They wouldn't impress you. They wouldn't actually be that interesting. And they definitely would inspire you. And any enemy they fought would be infinitely more interesting solely because it actually did something. This is the exact issue that plagues Marvel's Eternals. It was bland, it was a letdown, and most of all, it was safe. I didn't believe for a second that I was watching living gods defend the world. I wasn't impressed by their powers even once. Contrast this directly with 300. In every fight in 300, I was astounded how semi-realistic battle tactics could make for such a glorious spectacle. How spears, swords, shields, and arrows, so much more visually stellar than laser beams shot from the eyes. And I think that's what separates Eternals from 300. Eternals focused on how human these gods were, how normal they could be, how boring they were. 300 does the exact opposite. It follows normal, albeit exceptional men, yet it shows what they can accomplish when they're normal people who are truly dedicated to something. It shows how powerful they can be, how much of a fight they can put up against superior numbers, and how defiant they can be while staring unblinkingly at guaranteed death. As I watched 300, I had an intense, burning desire to follow Leonidas into battle to protect Sparta. When this movie was released in 2007, it inspired untold millions of people to go to a gym and work out so they could have a six-pack for themselves. I can't think of a single piece of media in the last 10 years that evoked that level of individual self-betterment. 300 taps into very human emotions and drives. Gotta protect my home, gotta stand up for myself, gotta protect my family. How it uses these basic elements to craft a vibrant story that manages to live up to and earn the title of epic is something that every Hollywood director should take note of. Eternals was bland because it used humanity as an excuse to manufacture a forgettable story and even more forgettable characters. 300 triumphs because it used humanity as a way to show what heights you and I are capable of reaching. I don't know about you, but that's a message worth believing in. All right.
Great segment. Now, who's who in The Real Deal?
I think Noah is obviously Fezco, based on what I know from the podcast.
True. The real question is, who's Rue?
That is a tough one, but Kat is clearly Maddie.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I'm scared of both of them.
You're telling me. I stopped going to writers' rooms, now Kat isn't speaking to me, apparently.
Kat might get violent, just like Maddie, so watch out, because you two are besties.
Yeah, I need to watch out. I'm over here betraying them like Cassie betrayed Maddie.
Good luck, but Drew 2 is clearly Elliot.
Based off his sassy pants alone.
True. Now on to the next segment.
I think music is such an important part of the way that we live our lives. When you hear happy and upbeat music in the mall, it makes you want to shop. Or if you hear Adele 30, it makes you want to divorce your husband. Hi, my name is Xander, and here's your album recommendation for the week. I recommend you listen to Control by SZA. Control, SZA's second studio album, is what made her blow up as an artist. Released June 9th of 2017 with a runtime of about 49 minutes. She really comes into her own style and experiments with different sounds. If you have heard this album before, but it's been a while, I think that it's time you revisit it. Control is all about SZA struggling for control in her relationships and giving up control when it's necessary. This album is important to me because it really resonates with me. SZA's experiences are sometimes shocking, and I feel bad for her, but they can also be relatable, like changing your appearance to see if your crush notices. Sounds like something Cassie from Euphoria took notes on. Or ending a relationship. I feel like all these are very personal experiences that almost everyone has in their lives. But SZA makes it relatable, and it makes you feel like you're not the only one, which is why I love listening to Control, whether I'm driving home after a long day or decompressing in my dorm room. Fun fact about this album is that SZA wrote these songs based on actual experiences with her past relationships. And the song Supermodel, which introduces the album, is actually about a boyfriend of SZA's. Supermodel talks about a situation where SZA's boyfriend leaves her alone on Valentine's Day to fly to Vegas, and he cheats on her. So SZA does the only logical thing. She cheats on her boyfriend with his best friend to get back at him and ends the relationship there. Now that is some serious girl bossing. So if you're new to SZA, she's totally worth a listen. You'll gain a whole new attitude and understanding. If you are already a fan like me, I hope you are as excited as I am for her next album release. That's all for me. Have an awesome spring break, BSU. I'm Xander. See you next time.
That segment could have been much better if they were talking about Euphoria more.
Hey, it was still good, but it was missing some Euphoria, which I thought you weren't a fan of.
I'm not. I just happen to know a lot about it.
You know too much for someone who isn't a fan.
Well, I pay attention to Twitter and Yik Yak and TikTok.
Really? What color shirt am I wearing?
Trick question.
That is not a trick question. Just like Euphoria. Admit it.
It's just a silly show about teenagers.
It's art.
It's high schoolers popping pills and...
So the story of your life.
Yeah.
That's a joke, I swear. Anyways, the final episode of Euphoria aired. How do you feel?
Well, considering I don't watch it, I don't care.
Oh, so I can spoil the ending for you then.
Don't you dare.
I knew it!
Next segment.
Over the weekend, I went to Be Here Now for their emo prom night, and I had the time of my life. Be Here Now is an 18-plus club in the Village located at 505 North Dill Street. They have live music a few times a month, and sometimes they are original acts, but they also have cover bands. For their emo night, they had a cover band perform music from some extremely popular pop-punk bands. These include some of my favorites: Paramore, All Time Low, My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, Blink-182, and many more classic bands that you can mosh to. They even did a rock rendition of Good For You by Olivia Rodrigo. I never knew I needed a pop-punk version of that song until I heard the cover. Be Here Now is a wonderful place to go hang out with your friends, and you will see some pretty great acts on the weekends. And remember, Be Here Now is an 18-plus club, so there's really no reason not to go. My name is Courtney Simmons, and I'll see you next time.
You cannot use a segment to avoid me.
I can, and I have, multiple times.
Well, not anymore. I will not have it.
So just like how Maddie won't put up with Cassie anymore,
You're really turning into a real Cassie right now.
how dare you?
It's true.
And you think you're Maddie in this scenario? As if.
Who have you become?
Finally showing off my true colors.
Put them back.
Now, before I get super annoyed, let's move on to our last segment.
Tyler the Creator, aka Sir Tyler Baudelaire, aka Bunny Hop, aka Wolf Haley, aka The Love of My Life, performed in Chicago last Tuesday on February 22nd at the United Center as part of his Call Me If You Get Lost tour. This travel itinerary included opener Tizo Touchdown, followed by Vincent Staples, as he put it, and finally Kali Uchis right before Tyler took the stage. As expected, Tyler played a plethora of music, all that varied from his entire discography, included a mashup melody from his albums such as Goblin and Wolf. I had the thrill of going, but the heartbreak of only seeing it once. Tyler Baudelaire did not disappoint from start to finish, as his power in his vocals and music was constant. As the lights started beaming on stage, a flute that persisted throughout the album could be heard when suddenly the opening track, Sir Baudelaire, with DJ Drama screaming in the background of the track, began. A car arose from the bottom of the stage, which Tyler sat on as he continued to rap. Once a verse was over, the jingle of the album was initiated, and suddenly the next track, Corso, commenced. Tyler knew exactly how to have a build-up, as my only recording of this track makes it appear as he blows up from his own fireworks, kind of like Dr. Doofenshmirtz. One of the most lavish parts of this mosh pit slash sing cry along the... Can I try that from the beginning? Yeah, right after. Okay. One of the most lavish parts of this mosh fest slash sing cry along concert was a beautiful set on the two stages he utilized. On the main stage, proscenium, there was a main mansion, probably the other crib that he alludes to on the album, which is in the same light green color scheme of the car he rode in with. Tyler uses this house during two tracks, Massa and Who Dat Boy, where he uses graphics on the window to create the illusion of someone inside or within the setting of the show. In the latter track, Tyler decided to have A$AP Rocky's verse included throughout the song as he raps alongside him through a silhouette in the window that resembles the A$AP Mob member. It is interesting to note that in certain tracks, Tyler would cut parts of his two-part songs or cut some verses from other people that were featured on a song, such as Lil Wayne's verse on Hot Wind Blows. As mentioned, there were two stages. The second was more in the round type stage, which was surrounded by the fans. This stage was utilized for performances by all except Kali Uchis. However, they were not connected until Tyler took the stage. An initial part of the set was Tyler's boat. He alludes to this expenditure in the album as well, but uses it functionally throughout the set to not only travel to another destination in the sense of the story, but quite literally. As Tyler played Moses by parting the crowd with his boat to travel to another stage, he would still perform while on that boat. What's Your Name was a standout track as he danced on the boat, swaying side to side as he went to the circular stage. If you were a Tyler fan, it did not matter from what era of his discography you loved him for. That night he played something for everyone. Tyler himself would joke about his cruder songs, but if you looked around, all you could see were just the lights from the stage shining on fans as they screamed the lyrics. Energy was also flipped so quickly when they played New Magic Wand, created a sense of monstrous energy within Tyler that transcended onto the crowd as he began to have several songs ago. on IFHY when they were singing out loud with Jumping to Fire on stage. This performance showcased Tyler at his best. His energy was above 100%. His comedic nature was also right there as he had his cheer for a fan. One fan, which Tyler gave him a new name for the night. I cannot repeat that name on this camera, however. However, his devotion was expressed in his music, in every single fiber of his body. This is my first time seeing Tyler, and now I can't stop thinking about him every single time I close my eyes. In the end, Mr. Sir Tyler, the Creator, Baudelaire, Wolfgang, Gang, Golf, Flower Boy, whatever, finished the setup with Run It Up, as he yelled alongside the crowd as the last seconds of the show, it drew to a finish. Thank you, Tyler, but not thank you, Frank Ocean. Drop an album, please. For all Sunseekers, I'm Eric Lagos.
Beautiful, wonderful, honest, amazing. Segment 4, your G.
Unlike my co-host.
First of all, ew. Second of all, ew.
Before we truly turn into Maddie and Cassie, let's head on to our final words. Okay, so not only have I not watched any Euphoria, and I have no idea what I'm talking about in this script, I also haven't seen any other movies this week. So instead of all that, I'm just going to talk about an 11-year-old video game. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim was released in 2011 by Bethesda Game Studios and only took about 3 years to develop. The concept and the story, which I'll talk about next, began to form around 2006 during the development of their other game, Fallout 3. This game starts you off as a prisoner on your way to an execution, and in the last second, your character is saved by a huge dragon who destroys the entire town and all the guys who are about to chop your head off. Turns out you're Dragonborn, someone who has the magical power of dragon blood in your body. And the time is not at all correlated to real life, but the setting, the swords and shields and heavy metal armor that makes you look buff and intimidating, it's definitely inspired by Nordic mythology, Thor and Odin and all that. There are even gods in the game that are pretty similar to those ones, but that's besides the point. The game is really cool, and it's full of really nerdy stuff, especially when you take into account the other 6 Elder Scrolls games. There's a lot of lore for the universe. This game took a lot of inspiration from tabletop games like Dungeons & Dragons. Shout out to our D&D podcast. And it definitely shows. With the main quest line, a Civil War quest line, and like 1,000 side quests at least, this game is hard to get tired of. There's always something new to do, something new to find, new places to explore. I have like 5,000 hours invested into the game, and I'm still trying to hunt all the achievements, which it sounds a lot sadder than it is. Anyway, that's all I have for this week, so I'll hand it over to Gabby one last time.
Thank you. This week, I want to dive into one of my favorite movies ever, The Call. This is a suspense movie starring Halle Berry, who plays a 911 operator. The movie opens with Berry taking a very intense call, actually ending up with the person on the other side of the line dying. As a result, Berry's character takes a bit of a break from answering calls before returning to work, and when she does so, she's giving tours and spreading awareness of what, the 911 call center does. But while on one of her tours, she witnesses another operator struggling to keep her caller calm. Berry steps in and ends up getting sucked into an intense search for the caller because she's been kidnapped. The movie progresses with Berry looking for the caller herself outside of the call center. Obviously, the way she goes about this situation is very much tied to her feelings of failure towards the first call we saw in the beginning of the movie. But before I keep talking and spoiling everything for you, I'll just encourage you to please go watch it. This is the first movie I ever owned on DVD, and it absolutely deserves that prestige. This is the movie that I have seen so many times, I can watch it in my head. See, watch. Good movie. Anyways, that's all we've got for you.
As always, thank you for watching. If you want to see anything else from us here at The Real Deal, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram now is back up, and our website for all things entertainment. I'm Owen DeWeese.
And I'm Gabby Kramer. Thanks for watching.